Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to Lost in the Pond, and the video is 6 things America does smaller than Britain, which, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't expecting to see a video like this. I was just sort of scrolling through my feed, and I saw this pop up, and I was like, oh, this could be quite interesting, because I've done reactions, and it's a known thing that everything's bigger in the US, right? But, yeah, I don't know what to expect to see in this, but we're going to check this out. Hopefully you're going to enjoy, and let's just see what things America does smaller. I mean, in the thumbnail it was a beer glass, like a pint glass, so I'm guessing that's going to be one. And I mean, I guess that's not necessarily a surprise because British people love their alcohol, but yeah, we're going to see. Hopefully going to enjoy. Links are in the description to my Patreon if you want to see extra reactions. Same for my new second channel. I say new, it's not new, but I'm posting a lot of different content there. It's doing quite well. And I mean, yeah, if you're interested, links are there. Some sport related stuff, so yeah, it's not for everyone, but let's just check this out.
And this is great news for American beer fans in Britain because it means that 6 American pints are equal to 5 British ones. You'll be slaughtered before the pub quiz starts. Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to size differences. I know, I'm obsessed with size, but you know what they say about a man with big feet? He has a huge spine, or something with those letters. Anyway, as the old saying goes, everything's bigger in America, from its cars to its roads, to its yards, to its homes, to its trees, to its phelps, to its streets, to itself. I mean, could anything be more American than the world's largest tractor? Yes, says the world's largest flag. America even has the world's largest teapot, which is astounding when you consider the historic protocol of its tea parties. But what if I told you that some things are actually small?
I'm guessing you can't use it. Who's going to be able to hold that up? That's such a stupid question.
On this side of the pond. That despite boasting the world's largest pencil, wind chime, rocking chair, knitting needle, crotchet, hook, pitchfork, golf tee, yardstick, Dutch clogs, mailbox, bird cage, wait, that's all in one town. Despite all of that, American life is filled with objects and concepts whose British counterparts are big enough to trigger small spine syndrome. And so today, in what I hope will be the first part in a series, here are 6 things America does smaller than Britain. There's a misconception that British plugs have 3 prongs and American plugs have 2, but that's not correct. You're thinking of dragons. In the US, it depends on whether you're using a grounded plug or an ungrounded plug, and that's the extent of my circuitry knowledge, after which my wires get a little crossed. What I do know is that British plugs are about twice the size of American plugs. When visiting my homeland a year ago, this really stood out to me. It was like finally strumming a guitar when you've spent quarantine plucking a uke or other tiny instruments. And it's not just the plastic coverings that make American plugs smaller. The prongs themselves are simply not as chunky as they are in Britain. Moreover, American wall sockets aren't equipped with on-off switches, so you could argue that even those are smaller.
But I feel like I've heard that before, but I can't remember. Then they don't have on and off switches. What? But like, doesn't it just waste unneeded electricity? Right? Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's just made in a way where it doesn't use it if it's not plugged in.
Speaking of arguments, have you ever considered the true spelling of words like colour, like Cyndi Lauper has? Bring on our next entry.
No switches, that's mental, you know.
I think it was the Bee Gees who said, talk in everlasting words, but in America that's not possible, and that's because a fair chunk of the American dictionary is shorter than across the pond. Due in part to Noah Webster's spelling reform, America did away with pointless letters in an effort to simplify the language and also to stick it to the Brits. Chief among those words is labour, flavour, neighbour, behaviour, rumour, tumour, humour, harbour, honour, splendour, but apparently not glamour, diarrhoea, fetal, faeces, hope this doesn't put you off your Reese's Pieces, paediatric, anemic, orthopaedic, analogue, catalogue, dialogue, monologue, cancelled, travelled, labelled, quarrelled, marvellous, libellous, disoriented, aluminium, airplane, moustache, and 1986 American sports film, Best Shot. Somewhere in that list was the word travelled, the perfect segue into this. People ask me all the time what I miss most about Britain, and my answer is always the same: my 13th century armour. But after that, it has to be comprehensive public transport. I say that like America doesn't have any, but cities of a certain size do normally have at least a bus system. However, there's one thing you'll note about almost all of them: the distinct lack of double-deckers. In Britain, these are a major feature of a town's infrastructure, partly because there's often...
And I mean, everyone always wants to sit, or I always want to sit at this seat here, bro. This is the best possible view, man.
Partly because there's often such a high demand for public transport. In the US, the only double-deckers you're likely to find are the ones that have those people on them who say things like, "And over to your left, you'll see the original home of YouTube sensation Lawrence Brown." For certain long-distance routes, Megabus will occasionally roll out the double-deckers, but this is literally the only way the company lives up to its name. When it comes to local travel in America, the demand for double-deckers is lacking. Sure, you could...
It kind of is crazy how it's just so different. Like how the UK decided we're going to have double-deckers and the US is just not taking it on. It's kind of wild just how those sorts of things happen.
That down to car culture, expenses, and the fact that the upstairs always smells like wee, but it might also be down to this. The United States has a stunning number of people, not to mention a number of stunning people. In real terms, there are approximately 5 times as many Homo sapiens in America than in Britain. But if you throw another ingredient into the mix, it would still be cannibalism. No, it would paint an entirely different picture. The other ingredient is area. The United States is almost 47 times larger than Britain and must be stopped. But this disparity in population and land differentials can mean only one thing. America has a smaller population density than Britain. And by some way, in the US, there are 87 Homo sapiens per every square mile. In Britain, this number is 782.
That's kind of crazy.
Place. Of course, the US is also made up of 50 states, themselves akin to a collection of countries or a patchwork quilt. But only 3 of those are more densely populated than Britain, the nations of
Massachusetts. I wasn't going to say that actually. New York and California.
Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and New Jersey. Most with so much land and so few...
What? Actually, California's huge, isn't it? Of course it's not.
People don't come close to Britain. This is especially true of Alaska, where there is 1 Homo sapien for every square mile. That person must be very good at social distancing, which is where our next entry comes in.
Social distance.
I've learned many things in 2020. I've learned that 400 square feet isn't the optimum size for a once-in-a-generation pandemic. I've learned that face masks give me a bizarre sense of unrelenting power. And I've learned that Britain and America can't agree on social distancing standards. I should clarify, they can't agree on how to measure things in general. In February, I published a video on why Americans don't use the metric system, and that video appears to have ended all debate on the matter until the end of time. But US residents have nonetheless been advised to maintain a distance of 6 feet from each other compared to 2 meters in Britain. Anyone who knows how to convert meters into feet will know that 2 meters equates to approximately 6.56168 feet exactly. So ergo, 1 US social distance is about half a foot shorter than a British social distance. So what does all this mean? In short, not a lot. People might be taking to the streets with sticks these days, but not yardsticks. We approximate. They're essentially the same thing. That said, social distancing is not the only thing affected by weights and measures. Great Britain might be unfairly known for its warm beer, but at least you get more bang for your buck, or should I say quid. You see, a British pint is larger than its American counterpart. To some, that might sound like something that I cooked up after, 4 pints of Stella, especially since each country defines a pint as 1/8 of a gallon. But here's the catch. Gallons are different too. In the US, a gallon is equal to 3.79 litres. In Britain, it's equal to 4.55 litres. So 1/8 of a US gallon gives you a pint of 473 millimetres. A good old British pint clocks in at 568. And this is great news for American beer fans in Britain, because it means that 6 American pints are equal to 5 British ones. You'll be slaughtered before the pub quiz starts. And speaking of quizzes, here's a piece of trivia. British beer is by no means served warm. In fact, if you order lager, it's as cold as an American beer or Jack at the end of Titanic. Other beers, while not always that cold, are also not warm in the sense that they've been put through a microwave, but rather room temperature or Kate Winslet. Either way, the ship still sinks. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below about...
And there we go, the difference in sizes. The more you know, right? I used to work with a British guy. Every time he would go out drinking, he would order a pint of beer, hold it up and declare, "You call this a pint? It gets old." I can see why that'd piss you off, to be honest. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. Let me know your thoughts on this. If there's other maybe examples, maybe let me know in the comments. But yeah, hopefully enjoyed it. Until next time, like, subscribe. Peace.